Well, hello again, everyone, and thank you for coming this morning. I'm really thrilled to be here with you, and thanks, Ami, for hosting. So I'm going to very briefly introduce myself. My name is Louise Legouis. I am an embodied yoga and yoga tune-up teacher, and I also practice Vini yoga. All these three traditions have in common the study of yoga from the inside out. So rather than achieving a certain pose, we're really trying to feel it and come into it from the inside out. And yoga, when we think yoga, we think often yoga poses, asanas. But there's also a whole other branch of yoga called pranayama, which is prana for breath or life force, yama, ayama, either breath extension or breath practice, depending on how you look at it. So today we're going to focus a little bit more on that part of yoga, working with the breath. And I wanted to take a minute to acknowledge that we're all together, but in different spaces. So let's start, if you don't mind, perhaps putting yourself into gallery view, if that's something easy for you to do, so that you can see everyone in the workshop. And if it's not comfortable or easy, don't worry about it. Just picture all the other participants. And bring your hands up, palms facing your screen. And we're going to chant the universal sound of Om, or whatever sound works for you today, directing our energy through the palms of our hands to everyone else here today. So breathe in. Great, thank you. Welcome again. Welcome to your body, to your breath, to this day. So why talk about breathing in times of COVID? Well, first of all, the breathing climate of 2020 has been very peculiar, as you all know. There's this COVID pandemic impairing our ability to breathe, and for some, their ability to live, breath and life being so interconnected. And then we've all had our hearts broken by the cries of "I can't breathe" from George Floyd and from others. But that has led to the introduction of the Breathe Act to find more balanced ways of approaching public safety. And then, of course, lately we've had the wildfires in California that have been suffocating people, not just out west, but impacting the quality of air all the way out here, as we've seen with our hazy skies. Well, I won't talk about the gut-wrenching, breath-sucking impact of watching the electoral debates, but that's another topic. Anyhow, it's a really important year, I think, to put aside the idea of business as usual. Let's keep going. It's a good time to pause, take a breath, and then carry on. So that's why I'm offering this workshop today, so that we can find simple tools to connect to our breath and support ourselves with our breath. Let's start with a simple exercise that's usually very instinctive. It's sighing. So take a deep breath in and then let it stream out with a sigh. And once again, breathe in. With an audible sound. Audible sigh. Again, breathe in. And notice the effect. Sighing is a simple, instinctive mechanism that allows us to relax our breath, loosen our breathing muscles, and down-regulate our nervous system. So any point in time you feel a little too anxious, you can tap into your breathing apparatus. So I'd like to dive in to a little anatomy tour to get sort of the geeky part out of the way first. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to look at a little anatomy model here. Can everyone see that? You can give me a little thumbs up. Great. And I'm going to start with the simple skeletal structure to notice a simple thing, these neutral curves in our spine. So when we're standing straight and we have good posture, we can allow more breath in more of us, more of the time. But standing straight doesn't necessarily mean ramrod straight. There's these beautiful curves that when we maintain and respect these curves, that's when our alignment is absolutely effortless. We don't have to grip to anything and hold our breath. The other thing I want to point out having to do with posture is that, of course, the air flows in through our nose most of the time, sometimes through our mouths. And we don't want to have obstructions here. So when we have computer neck or texting neck, of course, we're impacting the flow of air coming right through the trachea here and into our lungs. Beautiful lungs. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit here and come to our main muscle of respiration, this amazing breathing diaphragm. So this is the part highlighted in yellow here. And my cat has decided to do all manners of acrobatics here, being fairly distracting. So I'm hoping that he settles down. Sorry about that. So back to this breathing diaphragm. It means, in Greek, the origin of the word is partition. And then the Native Americans actually saw the diaphragm as the horizon between heaven and earth. Heaven being the head and the heart above, and earth being the digestive and reproductive system below. So yes, a partition, sure, but also a great connector of everything in our body. First of all, it's the muscle responsible, as I mentioned, for 75% of our respiratory function. And then you can see here, there's these little tails or crura that come right on down to our spine. So this big breathing muscle is connected to our spine. Interesting, it's not hanging out loose. And then if we add the digestive system, the respiratory system, we can see that the diaphragm is connected to this big envelope that keeps all our digestive system together, the peritoneum below, and above the pleural sacs that envelop our lungs, sitting right here on the diaphragm below. So all this is very interconnected. And then if we add some more muscles, oops, I meant to add them, not take them away, we can see here that there's these big muscles in the front connecting the legs to the upper body that also share fascial connections with the diaphragm in the front, connecting legs to the trunk. In the back, we have the quadratus lumborum, connecting the ribs to the hips, also sharing fascial connections with the diaphragm. So everything is connected here in this central place, the solar plexus in the center of us, where the upper body is connected to the lower body. So next, I'm going to go back to our breathing diaphragm mainly, and I'm going to add our circulatory system. So the origin of the diaphragm is all around our rib cage, and then the insertion is, everything comes together at a place called the central tendon, which is this whole white area at the center of the diaphragm. And amazingly, what sits right there on top of your central tendon? Your heart, right back here. There's your heart. And it sits on the diaphragm and it gets a nice little massage with each breath. So there's that very intimate connection, breath and circulatory system. Also, there's a very, very strong connection with your kidneys sitting right there in the back, going for a ride up and down, like a little elevator with each breath. Amazing. So I'm going to close up here, going back to the respiratory system, just so that you get a sense with these, it's a two dome-shaped muscle, this diaphragm, that actually takes up quite a bit of space underneath your rib cage. So this part, it's not hollow. You have the liver on the right-hand side, you have other organs on the left. It's not hollow, but it means that more of your lung capacity is really out in the sides and in the back of you. Notice all this lung capacity in the back of you, which is why COVID patients have been placed on their bellies, because it's been found that they can access more breath in their backs when they're on their bellies. And last, notice just how high up the lungs come, all the way to your first rib. Wow, who knew you had lungs all the way up here? Amazing. So we want the jaw, the neck, the shoulders to be released, relaxed, so that we're not constricting our breathing capacity up here. So I'm going to stop sharing now so that we can work on finding all of this in our bodies. But before we do that, I'm going to share one more thing with you, which is a little detour through the nervous system, which is also part of our anatomy. You can see this screen now. Let me actually go to the full screen. Can you see this slide on the nervous system? Thank you. Okay, so just a brief detour through the nervous system. We have a somatic branch, which innervates the skeletal muscles. Well, tracking back, I'm not going to talk about too much of it. There's the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. We're going to focus on, central nervous system, brain, spine, peripheral nervous system, everything else. The somatic branch innervates the skeletal muscles. The autonomic branch governs the internal organ like the heart and the lungs, the heart here, the lungs here. And the diaphragm is innervated by both the somatic and the autonomic branch, once again, connecting everything. And in this autonomic nervous system branch that functions on autopilot, as the name might imply, you have two main branches. The sympathetic nervous system, which is what we think of as fight or flight or feed and breed, that gets you up and going. It's not a bad thing, but it's also where you reside when you're very anxious and stressed out. And then on the other side, you have the parasympathetic nervous system, the other branch, which is where you rest, relax, repair, you initiate a relaxation response. Great. I mean, you don't want to be down there all the time either. Both branches are good. Either one is good or bad. But the interesting thing is that they cannot both function at the same time. It's either or. You're either on or you're off. And amazingly, you can switch one or the other on or off with your breath. So that's why we're talking here about the nervous system. So I'm going to stop sharing again, and we're going to come into, sorry, I'm just getting out of this. We're going to come into a little embodied anatomy. So if you're sitting, if you feel like standing up, this is a good time to get into our bodies. Now you have an image of where and how your respiratory system functions. So we're going to start with a little tapping. I'm sure you're familiar with that from your work without me. With loose fists or fingertips or even palms, just tap your chest around the collarbones, the top of your chest, allowing your breath to be smooth and relaxed. And then come to the sides of your chests, tapping with whichever part of your hand is comfortable for you to get up. Coming down to the origins of your diaphragm and your lower front ribs. Coming back to your breastbone, your sternum, that little handle that you can use to lift yourself up for better posture. And then come on down to your lower back ribs, the origins of your diaphragm and your around there. And then make your way up to the back of your shoulders, tapping yourselves on the back of your shoulders. And then back around to the front of your shoulders, working your way up your neck, gently tapping, releasing any tension in the neck. And come to your jaw. Oh, the jaw muscle. It does all sorts of wonderful things for us. You can chew, talk, laugh, but sometimes it's on overdrive. And then ending with the skull, like the gentle rain today, tapping gently on our skull, releasing our mind, relaxing our mind. And let that go and come to standing, noticing the effect of the tapping. We've just woken up our sensory organs, increased circulation in this respiratory system area. And the body talks to us in the language of the senses. So listen up. What do you hear? Ah, sensations. Hello. Good. We're going to continue with a little exercise to relax the jaw. And for this, you're going to hold on to your jawbone with your fingertips. And with each inhalation, you're, in this instance, going to inhale through your mouth, allowing the flow of air to come right down to your heart. And on the inhalation, as you open your mouth, you're going to hold your jaw in place as you just lift your skull off of your jaw, stretching a little bit that jaw muscle. So coming together, hold on to your jaw. Inhale. Exhale, close your mouth back. Inhale, holding onto your jaw. As you lift the skull right off the jaw. Exhale, close your mouth. One more time. Inhale, breathing in through your mouth, lifting your skull off your jaw, stretching your masseter muscle. And then letting that go, giving your little more massage, noticing any release and tension in the jaw. And then we're going to come to our shoulders, making nice big shoulder rolls, whatever's comfortable. They can be actually small circles, big circles, small circles. What does your body need today? We're going to mainly roll the shoulders forward and back, inhaling front, exhaling back. And picture your scapula, your shoulder blades as big bars of soap gliding on the back of your rib cage. If we can truly differentiate our shoulder blades from our rib cage, we can free up the rib cage. And then shrug your shoulders all the way up to your ears. Take a big breath in, expanding the chest, and then just release your shoulders onto the whole chest structure. Ah, there's a place for your shoulders to go and be supported. So now your shoulders can be loose. Your neck is free, yay! And you can breathe into more of you. Jaw, shoulders. Let's come to the lungs. And for this, I have a little tool, which is this natural sponge. Can you all see this? natural sponge. And it has this amazing ability to contract, expand, just like the lungs. It has a special affinity for moisture. And I'd like you to think for a minute of your lungs as these big sponges, as they expand when they fill with air, and they get squeezed like a sponge, expelling the air or the water out on the exhalation. And this is a useful image. Images are useful to work with your body in general. And I find this image particularly useful for the lungs because the lungs really have an affinity for humidity, for moisture. Think of a dried up, brittle sponge. You break off. Similarly, your lungs would not be happy in very dry winter air with no moisture. So it's a very good practice, especially during flu season, COVID season, to sip, and I don't mean gulp, but just to sip hot water or herbal tea throughout the day. Make sure that you have this humid, lovely, supportive environment for your spongy lungs. So let's work with the spongy lungs. Place your fingertips on your shoulders. That's going to be your inhalation. On your exhalation, you're going to bring your shoulders together as you exhale with a ha sound, expelling the air out of your lungs as if you were squeezing water out of a sponge. Inhale, fill with breath. Exhale. Inhale, open. Fill with air. Exhale. Squeezing it out. Inhale, spongy lungs. Engaging your lower belly muscles too. They're part of this party. Inhale, exhale. Good. Release your arms down, notice. Hello, spongy lungs. And next we're going to come down to the breathing diaphragm. So we are going to model this with our hands and arms. There are two domes. You can bring your fingertips together, making little domes with your hands. And amazingly, what happens on the inhale is the diaphragm actually goes down and flattens out. Inhale. Exhale, it releases up, floating up like a little jellyfish. So inhale, down and out. Exhale, releasing up and in. Inhale, down and out. Exhale, release, floating up and in, relaxing the diaphragm. And you can keep doing this if you'd like for a few more breaths as I continue to explain the mechanism of breathing. So, okay, your diaphragm goes down, out. All of a sudden, your lungs have all extra space. So they are decompressed, depressurized. And because of the pressure differential, the outside air comes rushing in. So in fact, you're not pulling your breath in, you're being breathed. The air flows in, the air flows out. Flows in, and it flows out. I apologize, my cat is loud. I hope he's not too distracting. I don't want to interrupt and let him go out because he can wait. So let's play next with our diaphragm a little longer. We're going to give special attention today. We're going to pretend our diaphragm is a little accordion. So you can place your hands on either sides of your ribs, thumbs facing back. If this is very uncomfortable and you have a scarf or a belt nearby, you can use that around your lower ribs. But if you don't have anything handy and it's not comfortable, you can just imagine your hands here. No big deal. So on the inhalation, we're going to exhale into our hands while resisting a little bit with our hands. Oh, trying to feel this big muscle working under our hands. Exhale, squeeze your rib cage together like a little accordion. Inhale, opening the accordion to your sides. pressing into your hands, resisting this opening with your hands, pressing the ribs into your hands, and then pressing your hands into your ribs on the exhale. Ribs into hands on the inhale, moving down and out with this diaphragm muscle, and then exhaling, pressing hands into ribs. So we don't usually feel this diaphragm except when we have the hiccups. So that's not always easy to feel. Where is this muscle? But it's, you know, arguably one of your most important muscles in your body. And as we talked before, it's not in isolation. We have the heart sitting here on the central tendon. So let's acknowledge that by placing one hand on your heart or both hands. Take a moment to feel the beating of your heart underneath your hands and the warmth of your hands on your heart. And then if you choose, repeat, my heart is strong, my heart is open, knowing that your heart is fully supported by your breath, by the massaging of the breathing diaphragm, by the lovely pillowy surrounding of your lungs. So it's actually okay to open your heart and try this gently, opening your front body, lifting your gaze to where the wall meets the ceiling, knowing that your heart is just falling back into this lovely pillow of the lungs. And if it's comfortable for you, you can even open your arms out to your sides, knowing it's okay, my heart is open, my heart is supported by my lungs. So we spend a great deal of time hunched over in our lives, over our texting or computers or driving. So this simple practice of opening our front body without chucking our occiput in our neck, where we're cutting off major nerves here. We want to keep the length in our back as we open our fronts so that we can allow the breath to travel through more of us. So we've acknowledged the heart and that amazing connection of the heart and the lungs working together to deliver oxygen through the blood vessels to every cell in the body, and removing carbon dioxide, which is the other side of this equation. So now let's talk to the kidneys. We talked about them a little bit earlier. If comfortable for you, bring your hands to your lower back ribs, or you can just, again, picture your hands here. And notice that when you inhale, your kidneys are doing what? They are going down. Little elevator ride down on the inhale. Little elevator ride up on the exhale. Hello, kidneys. Kidneys, diaphragm, all connected. Coming down with the inhalation, riding up with the exhalation. Keep doing a few more breaths at your own pace. And just an interesting factoid here, your kidneys move about a couple of inches with each breath cycle. We take anywhere between 15 and 30,000 breaths a day, meaning your lovely kidneys are going for a huge excursion of 2/3 to 3/4 of a mile per day. So I always think you should get them a new pair of sneakers. But the sneakers are drink your water, your kidneys need it, and they're jogging all day long, so they need the water. Okay, so we've talked about the anatomy, we felt it in our body. Now let's use our mind to connect with our body. We're going to do a couple of breath-centered meditation. The first one being a standing meditation with the posture, and the second one will be a sitting meditation. But at any point in time, you can feel free to sit back down if something is not comfortable for you. And if you choose, you can select a mindset or an intention for this practice to bring in your mind into the picture. Or I am offering a simple one today. My breath is my teacher. My breath is my teacher. And that is a reminder that at any point in time, something is not working for you, any movement is not working for you, or a movement is going too fast or too slow and it's not in sync with your breath today. You follow your breath, which is your teacher. I'm merely here as your assistant teacher. So feel free to modify or skip out altogether at any point in time. So we're going to start standing about hip width apart. I'm going to move to my side so you can see all of me. And we're going to play with the Goldilocks principle of something just right. But before we get to the just right part, we're going to exaggerate a little bit. And we're going to shift forward from our ankles like a, ski jumper. And then we're going to move back, rocking from the ankles all the way back. And notice what happens when you shift too far forward. Your whole back body is gripping. And then when you shift too far back, your whole front body is gripping. So we don't want to be gripping. We want free, smooth breath in a relaxed body. So work your way to a smaller rocking forward and back until you find the place that is just right for you in your body today, centered right over the arches of your feet. And that's the first little dome that we're going to be stacking today. And then moving up to your pelvic floor diaphragm, that next big one. Tilt your pelvic back, lifting your tailbone, and then tuck your tailbone under, exaggerating the movement. Notice what this does to your breath. This is a common posture, and I'm exaggerating, of course. But notice what's happening to my windpipe, what's happening to my chest, my lung capacity, what's happening to my abdominal muscles that help me exhale when I'm standing like this. So you don't want to have your pelvis tucked too far forward, nor do you want to have it tucked, lifting way back. You want to have your tail down and back like a big, heavy dinosaur tail. So let your tail be heavy and allow your pelvic floor diaphragm to stack nicely right over the arches of your feet. And when you found that place, we're going to move up to the next big diaphragm. Which one is that? Ah, yes, our breathing diaphragm. I have my fingers here, my hands here, but feel free to keep your hands, your arms loose on your sides. Here we're going to flare our chest forward, keeping everything down where it was, nicely stacked, and then hunch the chest back, moving forward of center, back of center. Noticing how that impacts our ability to breathe or even to talk while you're doing this. And then again, find the place that's right at the center of you where your breathing diaphragm is stacked over your pelvic floor diaphragm, over the arches of your feet. And last, we're going to come to either the vocal cord diaphragm in your throat or the soft palate in your mouth, a nice, lovely little dome, or the top of your crown, whichever works for you. Shifting the head forward. Does that feel familiar to anyone? How does that impact your breathing? And then shift it far back. Oh, I can hear it even impacting my voice. Too far back for sure. That one's too back. That one's too forward. And this one is just right. So whenever you feel that you have neatly stacked the domes in your body, that you find the center of you today, just abide here in this effortless place where you've balanced effort and effortlessness. You can do any micro movement at any time that you need to continue to be comfortable here. As Ami would say, think of your head as a helium balloon lifting up and your body trailing down. If it's helpful for you, think of the crown of your head connected to the North Star all the way in the universe. And think of the soles of your feet rooted down all the way to the core of the earth, connecting all of you all around. There's more of you than meets the eye. Good. Release that standing meditation. And if you have a chair nearby, hopefully, and I forgot to mention that at the beginning, so apologize, but hopefully you have a chair. If not, you can do this standing as well. Coming onto the edge of your chair so that you can find that alignment here too. So we're not going to sit in our chair in hunch asana, a familiar posture for many of us, nor are we going to flail ourselves forward and chuck our occiput in our neck. Again, here we want to find the place that's just right for us. The occiput is up and back, ears over armpits, over hips. So you found your posture first, and then continue in this position as I will talk you through a meditation which I call do nothing and breathe. So do nothing but breathing, haha. So you found your breath. Feel free to close your eyes or simply soften your gaze. Make sure that your feet are connected to the ground. And relax your jaw, your shoulders, relax your belly, relax any gripping that's not serving you right now. Settling in with your breath. Place one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. And follow your breath, taking inventory, checking in. Where is your breath at today? What is the quality of your breath? Where is your breath? Is it in your nostrils, on the edges of your nostrils? Is it under the hand in your chest? Is it under your belly? Where is it? Don't rush to the next inhale or hold on to the last exhale. Just enjoy this breath. Enjoy this moment. Continue to simply follow each breath in, each breath out. Simply knowing that you are breathing. Know that you will breathe anyway. You're just feeling it now. Stay with your breath. If a thought arises, just call it out thought and let it go and return to breath. And when you're breathing in, be aware that you're breathing in. When you're breathing out, be aware that you're breathing out. And as your breath perhaps becomes a little bit more relaxed and comfortable, allow your chest to expand first a little bit more, then travel into the belly. And on the exhalation, engage your lower belly first, and then release your chest. Breathing in, chest, belly. Breathing out, belly, chest. With no straining, allowing the inhalation to be smooth, flow in, and the exhalation, smooth, flow out. At any point in time, feel free to release your hands into your lap, letting go, continuing to stay with your breath. No need to pull, no need to push. Knowing you are being breathed. If your mind wanders, think of it as a little radio playing in the background, and it's okay. It's okay for the radio to be playing. You don't have to pay attention to it. Return your attention to your breath. Doing nothing but breathing. And then gently allow your eyes to open up again if they were closed. Taking stock of any sensation, any changes in your body, changes in your mind, changes in your sensations, emotions. Notice what happens when you do nothing, but simply pay attention to the breath. Conscious breathing is a very immediate, simple, accessible way of down-regulating our nervous system. In other words, calming ourselves down. And also I wanted to mention here, we've done a couple of breath-centered meditation. And I wanted to note that for a lot of people in times of COVID, all this year during this pandemic, isolation has been tremendously challenging. But as the diaphragm connects everything in our body and everything works together, and we are more than our just physical body, so we share everything and we are connected intimately in this planet through our breathing, because each time we breathe in millions of atoms, but there's only a finite number of atoms on the planet, which means there's been a long-standing tradition of atom recycling. So all the atoms I'm breathing in right now, you might be breathing in tomorrow. And in that way, we're very intimately linked, and we're really not alone. Not so alone, because we have these atoms connecting us together through our breath. So with no logical segue, we're going to move into our last section here of breath and movement. Because our breath moves through all of us, like this little Hoberman sphere can illustrate so well. When we breathe in, we actually breathe in through all of us at the same time. And then we breathe out, everything comes in together. Democratic body, or full body breathing. Breathing in, breathing out. So we want to work with that, experiment a little bit in our bodies with movement. First, we're going to start with a little energizing breath, the breath of joy, because this is the more active part, but nothing too crazy, no worries. And then we're going to move with the simple basic movements of the spine. The key focus here is to remember your sankalpa, or your mindset from the previous section. My breath is my teacher. So the important thing we want to practice here is matching our movement to our breath, your very own movement to your very own breath. So if your chair is still in the way, take it out of the way, because for this first breath, which you can also do sitting, you're going to need to be able to move your arms out to the side. So make sure you have enough room for that without knocking anything over. And this breath of joy, which is a variation of Bastrika breath or bellows breath, is a little bit energizing. We're going to inhale in 3 parts. The first third of our lung capacity, we're going to bring our arms up in front of us, palms facing down. The second third, we're going to bring our arms out to the sides, palm facing forward. And the last third, we're going to bring our arms above head as far as comfortable for you today, our palms facing each other, which you can't see here in my video. So first third, arms up in the front. Second third, arms out to the side. Third, arms up above. And then the exhale is going to be the arms down in front as you bend forward with loose knees, and exhale again with a ha sound. So let's try this together. In to the sides, in, up, out, ha, up, out, up, ha, front, side, up, ha, front, side, up, ha, in, out, in, out. And feel free to go as fast or as slow, as good in your body today. What is good for you today? You don't want to hyperventilate, you don't want to exhaust yourself, but you want to lift your energy up a little bit here with this movement, in, and out. And on the exhale, feel free to release out anything that's not serving you today. Just dump it out together with your exhalation. One last time, in, and ha, out. Good. And stand here, noticing the effect. All the cells lit up through your body. Hello. Woo. What happened here? Oh, you turned on your sympathetic nervous system, didn't you? Or maybe some of you, maybe you notice you're a little bit more awake. So next we're going to move into the movements, the direction of movements of the spine, starting with a standing or sitting cat-cow. On the exhalation, we're going to hug ourselves with alternating arms, right arm on top, and simply curve your spine in as if you're going into a fetal position, just to the beginning of this spinal flexion. That's going to be your exhalation. And on the inhalation, we're going to open up the front body, extending the spine. Again, not chucking the skull in the back of your neck, not lifting your tail all the way up. Find nice length into your spine as you extend the arms open. That's your inhalation. Exhalation, left arm on top. Just come to the beginning of your stretch. Inhale, open the arms out. Exhale into flexion, right arm on top. Inhale, matching your movement to your breath. How fast, how slow does your breath want to do this movement today? And just enjoying the sensations of breathing in with an open, extended spine, and using the whole spinal flexion to help you squeeze out your exhalation. Continue at your own pace a couple more times. And then we're going to move into the lateral flexion. So come back to standing, about feet, about hip width apart. And for this lateral flexion, you're going to lift your left arm up And as you lift your left arm up on the inhalation, you're going to root down into your left foot. So we're not cheating here. We're not doing this up when the shoulder, lifting the shoulder to our ear. The shoulder is nice and gliding down our rib cage. The lateral opening on the exhalation is just going to be at the beginning of this lateral bending, because we don't want to collapse here and create all sorts of imbalances. We want to find length and opening in our whole side body, lifted by the buoyant lung, as if it were blowing out like a balloon, okay? So if you want to join me now, inhale, your left arm up, rooting down into your left foot. Exhale just to the beginning of a bending to the right. Inhale back to center. Exhale, you can place your right hand on your chest, your waist, your belly, just for support as you open up your whole left side. And feel free to come back and forth, inhaling long, exhaling to the side. Or you can stay here in a little side bend, just feeling the opening, the expansion of your whole side body. For a breath or two. Come back to center and float your arm down, noticing any differences from one side to the other. And then lift your right arm up, rooting into the right foot. Inhale. Exhale, just to the beginning of a side bend, making sure you're staying in this side plane, like if you were stuck between two panes of glass, so we're not moving forward or back. And we're continuing matching your movement to your breath. You can exhale the arm all the way down, or only come back to center. Inhaling long, foot to fingertips. Exhaling just to the beginning of your side bend as you open up the side body. Your right lung now is filling with a little bit more air and supported by the other side, not collapsing. Feel free to come in and out with your breath, or stay for a breath or two, finding the length and the whole side of you. And then release your arm down, let it float. Noticing the effect in your breath, in your side bodies now awakened. And we've done flexion extension, sideways, 4 movements. Let's go into spinal rotation, empty coat sleeve rotation. So think of the crown of your head all the way down to your feet. There's a nice central axis, and we're just rotating loosely around this axis, lifting our heels up so that we're not gripping, and we're allowing the arms to just float out, going along for the ride like empty coat sleeves. That's spinal rotation. So the more we can move our body in all directions, the more breath we can find in more of us, more of the time, which is actually one of the definitions of yoga, finding breath in more of us, more of the time. And we'll just do a little wink to our friends, the lungs and the kidneys. If you'd like, you can bring your front hand up to the lung point, right where the arm meets the chest, and your back arm to the kidneys as you flop your arms around. These are acupuncture points, lungs, kidneys, little activation here, and then slow that movement back down and come back to center. I'm adding 2 more movements to the spine, which are not so commonly talked about, but we have compression and axial extension. We do compression every day with gravity, so we're not going to do that here, but let's try a little axial extension. Lift your arms up with an inhalation, come up, if comfortable, on the balls of your feet. Exhale, just your heels down. Take 1 more inhalation, finding length from your waist up and from your waist down. And then release your arms down. So again, our solar plexus here is where everything comes together, upper body, lower body, our horizon. So the more space we have through here, the better everything will function. So move, use imagery, and we're going to close with a balancing breath called Nadi Shodhana, or alternate nostril breathing. For this breath, we're going to form the Vishnu Mudra by just bending the index and third finger, if comfortable, and if not, just have your thumb and little finger out. Bring your thumb to your right nostril. You can close the nostril or just close the opening. Inhale through the left nostril. Close your left nostril with your pinky or ring finger. Exhale out the right. Inhale up the right nostril. Close the right nostril. Exhale out the left. Inhale left. When you're full of breath, close the nostrils. Switch sides. Exhale out the other side. Inhale right. Full of breath, close the right, exhale left. Inhale left. When you're full of breath, switch, exhale right. Keep going at your own pace. When you're full of breath, switch. And if you find that you're dropping your head forward, you can hold on to your elbow with the other hand, or you can place a hand on your sacrum. And then eventually you're going to close out with your last exhalation on the left side. And I've done a very, very short breath balancing exercise, but this is a very, very useful tool to do as many as 30 breath cycles to balance the nervous system, to balance the two hemispheres of the brain. It's a really great tool. So I encourage you to do this at home, actually. You know how they say, don't try this at home. I say, try this at home. And I'm going to leave you with a quick quote from Edgar Tolle, which is as follows. Being aware of the breath forces you into the present moment, which is the key to all inner transformation. So whenever you're conscious of the breath, you are present. You may have noticed this, that when you have your thinking mind on, it's different than when you have that observer mind on. And you can't really think and be aware of your breathing at the same time. Conscious breathing actually stops the mind. But it's not like being in a trance or being asleep. You're fully aware and awake and alert. You're not falling below your thinking, but you're rising above it. If you look more closely, you will find that those two things, coming fully into the present and ceasing that loud thinking without loss of consciousness, it's actually one and the same thing. It's the arising space of consciousness. Cool. So with that, thank you, Edgar Tolle. Bring your hands together and we're going to chant Om to close. Take a deep breath in. Om.